Everything's bigger in Texas, including their defense of real, honest-to-God, farm-raised meat. Folks, the Lone Star State has officially banned the sale of lab-grown meats. Senate Bill 261 is now law, making it illegal to sell cell-cultured lab-grown meat for human consumption anywhere in Texas. And if you are looking forward to biting into a lab-grown brisket or a synthetic woolly mammoth meatball, you'll have to take that experiment somewhere else. This law goes into effect on September 1st, 2025, and Texas now joins Florida, Nebraska, Montana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Indiana in telling the fake meat industry, not in our backyard. And good for them. Welcome to Nelly Miranda.
A new law will go into effect this September, banning the sale of lab-grown meats.
Industry experts say the ban will cut the state off from innovation and a healthier food source. KXAN's Eric Henriksen takes a closer look at the fight over your dinner.
As ranchers here in Texas, we produce 19% of the world's beef with only 6% of the world's cattle. However, some have decided that a lab is better than a pasture.
It's a question of the past versus the future.
We take cells from animals or eggs and grow them directly into meat.
Should Texans be served meat grown in a lab or raised on a farm?
Texas prides itself on being open for business, and yet here we have a law that's shutting down a business.
Lab-grown or cultured meat is a growing industry.
Cultivated meat, in our view, is safer than the conventional meat that is produced in a large scale that's on the market right now.
Dr. Uma Valetti with Upside Foods has led the charge on cultured meat. Their product, lab-grown chicken, was the first of its kind.
It's really important for our national security to be able to put meat on the table from an animal-based source.
The new law, once it takes effect, will ban the sale of this meat source in Texas. The state is one of 7 with a ban in place. One of the concerns about lab-grown meat is the impact it could have on this stuff right here.
We don't necessarily see ourselves as competition.
Katie Cam is the CEO of BBQ. They aim to grow brisket in a lab. Cam testified this year before the Senate committee hearings over the bill. There, ranchers voiced concerns over the safety of lab-grown meat.
Because these products are so new, there has been no long-term research.
Cultivated meat is a step above in terms of production quality, cleanliness, and safety.
Once the law takes effect, BBQ will still be able to operate in Texas, but selling the lab-grown brisket is off the table. Eric Henriksen, KXAN News.
And the law will remain in effect until 2027, when it will then go up for a review. Only 4 nations currently allow the sale of lab-grown meat to people. That's the U.S., Israel, the Netherlands, and Singapore.
So let's break this down. What's this really about? Is it about protecting public health, or is it about standing with America's farmers and ranchers? Or is it about resisting the global push towards synthetic everything? Let's start with what the bill actually does. Senate Bill 261 bans cell-cultured protein for human consumption in Texas. It runs from 2025 to 2027, so it's a temporary ban, but you and I both know how laws have a funny way of becoming permanent. And of course, the fake meat industry is big mad about this. Katie Cam, CEO of BBQ, said, quote, "Texas prides itself on being open for business, and yet here we have a law that's shutting down a business." I'm going to play a clip of BBQ brisket, and you let me know in the comments if you'll ever try lab-grown meats.
Brisket that Texas BBQ grown in a lab. And I just want to know if y'all would try this, okay? So share your thoughts. Here's what's happening though. It's called BBQ. BBQ, okay? A startup based in Austin wants to redefine brisket. I don't think nobody asked for this. They want to make it more animal friendly though. Okay, I get it, y'all. The meat starts off from an animal, but would be reproduced by cultivating the animal's cells in a lab. Sonia, you over there typing, you better be listening to my little story.
Oh, I'm listening. I have no desire to try BBQ.
This basically means people wouldn't need to raise animals for food because cells can be copied until it makes a slab of meat large enough to eat. BBQ, listen to this part. They want to bring this to grocery stores starting next year. What? You giving your, what? Okay, I want to hear what you think about this. Meat grown in a lab, would you try it? Yes, no?
I don't know. It looks weird to me, but I'm not 100% opposed to trying it because when I was vegan, I ate fake soy meat and a lot of it tasted so real that in the back of my mind, I had doubts. Again, this is a bit different because it's a lab grown animal. The reasoning behind this is to help eliminate greenhouse gas and stop animal cruelty. And Dr. Umar Valeti, CEO of Upside Foods, claims cultivated meat, in our view, is safer than conventional meat. Safer? You mean the meat that doesn't come from a pasture, but from a petri dish is safer? So let's pause there. These products are made using immortalized cells. These are genetically modified cells that do not die. And guess what? There have been 0 long-term health studies. Do you want to be the lab rat in this global experiment? Jack Hubert from the Center for Environment and Welfare said, the lab-grown meat sector will continue to face headwinds as consumers and lawmakers learn more about the lack of long-term health studies and the use of immortalized cells. Bingo. This is about precaution and common sense, not caving to the World Economics Forum's vision of the future where you'll own nothing, eat synthetic, and be happy.
Guardian headlines that meat accounts for nearly 60% of all greenhouse gases from
The global food system is the primary driver of biodiversity loss.
We must radically change how we produce food and start eating for tomorrow.
The question became, how do we start this conversation? How do we get people talking about the idea that the food on our dinner plates 20 years from now can be very different to what we eat today? And we decided the best way to do that was to create a woolly mammoth meatball. I'm George Peppu, one of the founders and the CEO of VOW. VOW is an Australian food company. We produce cultured meat, which is growing meat directly from animal cells outside of the animal, so that you're able to produce the same food that we want, but with a fraction of the physical and emissions footprint that you would find with some intensive factory farming systems around the world. When people around the world get wealthier, one of the first things they do is add meat to their diet. And in order to satisfy that increasing demand for meat, people that are responsible for producing that, especially outside of Australia, meet that demand by cramming more animals in the same space. There's a huge amount of energy to run a multi-story building full of animals. You need lifts for the pigs to go up and down. You need all sorts of things to bring the food in. And then you need a source of that food. There is a significant environmental footprint to the production of meat, and that's doing nothing to slow the demand and consumption around the world. If your goal is to make the food system more equitable and more environmentally friendly, then the production of animals for consumption is one of the biggest resource sort of drains within that food production system. We either persuade people to stop eating meat, and the fact that I still choose to eat meat on a daily basis is a testament to how hard that can be. When you start to dig into this question of why is meat so good, why is it so desirable, it turns out there's a lot of complexity in the biochemistry of animal tissue that we've co-evolved with to find really desirable. And so you really seem to need that animal tissue to create that same satisfaction and satiation that we get from eating meat. And so that's why we chose cultured meat as our approach here, to grow real animal cells, to grow real animal tissue outside of the animal. So you get that complexity with a far smaller physical footprint. So our whole approach is to invent foods that don't necessarily exist by either culturing the cells of animals we can't produce in large scales, or even mixing cells from different species to create entirely new sensory experiences or nutritional profiles. The question became, how do we start this conversation? How do we get people talking about the idea that the food on our dinner plates 20 years from now can be very different to what we eat today? And we decided the best way to do that was to create a woolly mammoth meatball. We definitely did not expect it to get the attention it did. It was just a completely chaotic experience, but it did exactly what we were looking to do. Millions of dinner table conversations all around the world of would you eat it, why or why not? It got people thinking and it got them talking about this idea that the meat that we can choose to eat tomorrow doesn't necessarily need to be the same as what we eat today.
Well, Texas is drawing a line in the sand against fake food, against the overreach of corporations playing Frankenstein in the lab, and against this endless pressure to replace every part of our natural lives with synthetic versions. It's the same fight against fake meat, fake currency, fake news, fake elections. You see the pattern. Do you support Texas banning lab-grown meat, or is this government overreach? Would you eat meat grown in a lab? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if honest commentary brings you value, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.